Welcome back to Reynolds Runabouts, everybody. I'm Jeffrey Reynolds, and in today's episode, I'm going to show you how I took apart the inside of the deck a little bit. Some of this has already probably been in some of my videos. I'm going to clean the inside of the deck, or the interior side of the boat that you can't see, and I need to get that ready so that it's clean, so that when I remake this foam for both the deck and the two fins, it'll have a clean surface that I can now use epoxy and 1708 cloth to reattach. I'm going to remake this because it's in such bad shape, as is the fin foam. So I'm going to get this off here, and then I'm going to clean it, and then I'll take it down with my orbital sander, vacuum, mask, safety glasses outside. We have a good day here in northern Michigan. I'm going to do this outside because it is such a dirty, nasty mess, even with a vacuum attached to my sander. And then I'll show you how I put everything back together. Let's get to work. Before I start sanding and prepping the surface for putting the foam back down and then attaching it with biaxial cloth, I wanted to show you some of the things that can be missed in the factory. These here are dry spots. This is where the tabbing went around the foam, and here there's no excuse for it. When they laid this up, it should have all been this color. They did not what they call wet it out. So this is dry. And it's not a horrible, but right under the foam especially, this is all dry. Um, it doesn't make the boat any stronger, and it could delaminate. So there's a lot of that on the boat. So what I'll end up doing is prepping it and putting resin back down on it to make it right. And then when the foam was back on and tabbed in with the cloth, I'll paint the whole thing so it'll look nice. Wherever you look under the deck, it'll be that speckled gray that's pretty common in 50s and 60s era boats. It's got a gray base and then like a white and sometimes gray speckles. This is what that boat used too, so I'll be doing that as well. So I'm going to get to sanding. Well, that wraps up the sanding of the interior of the hull. It took me about 3.5 hours. I used 40 grit orbital on my sander, and with the vacuum I made it really clean to work with. There's still a little bit of fiberglass flying around, but I had a positive force fan blowing out, so I tried to stay behind it and let it. I don't feel too bad. There's a little itch on my arms, but that's about it. You saw that I was wearing a mask and headphones. Um, you might have a vacuum on the sander, but it's certainly not enough. So I always wear a respirator, at least for the particulates. So what I'm going to do now is what I'll do is work a little bit more in the fenders and in some of the tighter curve areas with my Makita sander. It's on a long belt and you can really get in there, but really I don't have a lot to do. I just wanted to get it cleaned up so that the foam would stick. When I'm going to pour it in the fins and on the deck, but with forms around them. So when I pour it in, it'll stick to the fiberglass that's been cleaned. And then I'll put the tabbing or the fiberglass over all three pieces and attach it to the boat where it was originally. That's what I really want to do, is clean that up so that attachment points are nice and clean. And what I'll do is I'll wash the whole boat down with denatured alcohol before I do any foaming, glassing, or painting, so it's always nice and clean. Got most of it. I'm happy with that. And I've got some repairs. There's a couple here. I don't know if you can see these. These are somebody put in extra holes I think for the um, steering gear, which motor change of the motor might have done that, so they had to do something different. Um, there are vent holes which are not original. I'm gonna fill those in with glass and some other stuff. Just getting it back to the original look, and then I'll go ahead and put some time in just making those fair on the other side too. If I get the work done on the back side here, I know if I put in like a patch, cardboard with some plastic over it, I can get it pretty fair, and then I'll just fill it in with uh, thickened epoxy, or I could even use a fairing compound if it's pretty thin fairing. I'll just go ahead and do that. So it's a good time to get all these things fixed, and then I'll paint it gray with the fleck, like a white fleck goes in it. Get that all done, get the foam on, and then I'll have a really nice looking interior that no one will ever see, but at least I'll know that. So, and flipping it over, and I'll get to work on a very smooth surface, taking off very little paint and gel coat, and getting down to the original gel coat and trying to find a smooth surface with fairing compound. So I'm going to get at making my forms for the molds for the foam, and I'll show you how I do that. To make my molds, I went ahead and just left the foam here and in the fins, and then I took this really tight weave cardboard, which they use for interior of upholstery panels on cars and boats. This is the base in which that upholstery is, part of. I buy it and I use it for patterns, but it also makes really great molds. What I'm going to do with this mold, I'm going to pull the foam out, and then I'm going to put packing tape on the inside. So the temperature of the foam can get up to 130 degrees just for a little bit, and then it goes right back down as it cures pretty quick. So I'm going to put the foam and the tape in, a little more thermal backing against the cardboard, which I don't think will catch on fire because it is so tight and it's going to be so brief. But it'll also allow me to have a smoother finish. It's like putting wax on the inside of a boat mold. It allows the foam to release faster if you use tape. And I'll do this on all of the three molds. They're more like forms, really. This looks more like a mold, but the other ones are more forms because most of the boat fin is taking the foam. I do want it to attach, so I've cleaned everything with acetone where this is going to attach. So I'll pour it in place, it'll attach, pull the molds off, it'll release because of the tape, and I'll have essentially a new, just like I have now. So um, I'll make a note of where there's a hole right here that allows you to get to the bow light. So I'll make a note of where to dig down and get to the bow light eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and get these taped up, and then I'll show you how I pour the foam. To do the foam flotation, I'm going to use the TotalBoat flotation foam 2-pound. The 2-pound is more for flotation, and the 6-pound is more for, you can use it for flotation, but it's more for like shaping when you're making forms and then making molds over the top to make fiberglass parts. So I'm using the 2-part, 1-to-1, 2-pound. I'm going to have a cup for each. I'm going to do 14 ounces in each. Because I'm not schooled in this, I'm just going to do my small cups into a big cup, do the stirring. I have about 25 seconds. So I'm going to use a drill with a paddle. I also have a cup that'll have acetone in it to put my paddle in. And then after every pour is done, I will scrape this as clean as I can and then wipe it with acetone and get it ready for the next one. So it's going to be several pours, I'm going to call them, just because I'm using smaller equipment. Plus, I haven't done it before, so I want to make sure I'm doing it well. using 9mm plastic gloves. I'm wearing a Tyvek suit. I'll be wearing a vapor filter. I have the heat in my shop set at 80 degrees, and I can tell it's very warm. 75 to 80 is when this foam does its best. It expands at its maximum 20 to 1 expansion rate. So I'm really trying to get it optimal. Everything's been cleaned with acetone. Surfaces are ready. The molds are in. Ready to go. So I've got both fins done. You can see it goes pretty quick. This one really filled nice. I was really purposeful about getting it even. This one I was a little less attention spent on it. But the beauty of this stuff is that you can go back and pour again on top of it, as long as it's green, like fiberglass. You get it within a certain amount of time, it'll stick to each other. You can hear a little bit of it pushing on the cardboard and the tape. That's how much expansion. It has like 5 pounds per square inch, I think, or foot. So you have to allow it to go up or somewhere. That's where a lot of people, when they pour it below decks through a hole, the expansion hole is the hole. Well, there's not a lot of place for it to go. So I'm very comfortable using this. I can always cut it with a saw. It's like a big knife. You could cut it. So I am going to go around and do the front piece, and then go ahead, and if I have enough left, I'll come in and fill it. You can see a little bit where the tabbing took place, but I'm really close to the top of my forms already. If I was to pull that out and compare it to the original, I think I'd be fine. It's probably, because right here there's a block where the line or the cable steering attaches, so this has to be less anyways. So I think I'm going to leave this alone and maybe pour a little purposely up on the top here, but I'm really close to where the tabbing came in. I think these are done, to be honest. I'm going to go back into the front. On this one, I did a 64-ounce pour, so I got a lot more volume, got plenty of material. And then I've experimented 3 times with 28 ounces, and I know where it's going to go. So This is where I'm at. There's a little bit of under the dams, but I was able to just wait for it to get to like egg white consistency, and then I just scraped it and put it back in, put it inside. So it gets sticky pretty quick. You can see the stuff on the sides is already too sticky to move. So look at that. There's an expansion crack as it was moving. So I'm going to go ahead and let that, it's hardened up already. I'm going to go ahead and pour in so that those cracks get filled. But as you can see, it's already hard. So I'm going to get at it. Here's the front flotation foam. I didn't have enough. I know I was cutting it close because there was a big section cut out of the middle for access to the bow light wiring. And I still think I would have come up short. So I'm going to order another 2-gallon kit and I will finish this up. But you can kind of see what's happening. This is very hard already. This over here is a little more spongy. And then it gets harder. Hard. And what I'll do is I'll clean up around my dam and I'll put all those, if I can, I'll put them right inside. Some people put bottles, things to take up space. I should have thrown in the 2-gallon buoyancy foam containers and I would have taken up space. I just, yeah, that's just a little tacky. So a little expansion here you can see, but I'll shave that and I can put the form back into form when I do the, probably need about another 64 ounces. I'll cut that middle out too and I'll have that not to deal with. So I'll put that into the kit and use it as foam. So call that good. I probably will give you a video, maybe even part of this one, how I tab these in. I'll pick these forms out and I'll go ahead and put the fiberglass tab on, which will be repeated in the foam in the front, so it's kind of redundant. So I'm going to go ahead and call this part of the project done and move on to fixing the fiberglass holes in the boat deck and then tabbing in the foam. So this is what the foam looks like without the molds. Definitely in there, hard. And you can see how uneven the original one was. It looks like the pour was here, then they ended up cutting it back anyways. So I think this is fine. And then I'll have tabs right in here, down in there, tabs, and then tabs. A much cleaner look. Yeah. Again, it's all about getting the boat, keeping it afloat, so it doesn't go below the deck when it's sinking. That's just so people can recover it, so the fuel and engines don't end up in the bottom of the lake. So this is what the front looks like. Again, not much different than when I stopped. All hard. But I've ordered some more foam. I'm going to cut the middle out right here, which goes down to the bow light, and then I'll put that into the cavity and I'll just fill around it. So, yep, I'll end up doing some finish work on that as well, but I can always tab that in after I show you how to do the fin tabs. Now I'm going to call this video done. Thank you for tuning in. If you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. If you're enjoying the video series or finding it entertaining or at least instructional, please hit the like button. It's always nice to hit the receive the positive feedback. And I will be back in a few weeks to show you how I worked on the repair of the fiberglass, the cracks all over the deck and areas where there's holes that shouldn't be. And I'll show you how I tab in the foam once I get it all even here. I got some on order, it's coming. I'm going to get that tabbed in, and as soon as I get it done, and I'll tab in the fins and then show you how that all looks. and then throw some paint on the areas it'll show for the bone odor, and probably just leave the rest of it alone. Still debating it. I might prime it. So I'll see you in a few weeks. Take care.